this is a global pandemic. It's okay to not know what to do, or to be stressed, or to be anxious, or be scared. And I think that reminder is necessary. And, yeah, we've been doing this for a few months now, but that doesn't change that we're still in this situation. And I recognized, before I think of my team as professionals, I really need to think of them as humans. And for me, offering support and encouragement, sending notes of inspiration and gratitude, and just listening have been really important to kind of support that human factor and that piece that we all really need right now. I also recognize, for me personally, and I'm sure for a lot of other people here, uncertainty breeds a lot of fear and anxiety, and that communication is really important in kind of being able to combat that. So on our first work from home day, I outlined expectations for my team, and I committed to sending weekly update emails. And I'm sure, like everyone, I don't often have a lot of concrete information to stand on, but I can share whatever I know, or being able to say I don't know to my team. And I think that that's really important to keep everyone as informed as possible. I also created several online structures. We use Google Drive a lot now, more than we ever have before, to really help with our communication flow and accountability. As we look forward to continued uncertainty, I have talked a lot with my team about fluid roles and responsibilities. I want us to focus on providing the best possible support for our students, and also keeping my team employed. And so I think flexibility and adaptability are really key in that piece. It may not be in someone's job description, but 3 months ago, no one on my team had virtual programming in their job description. And so I've been trying to kind of spend this time as an opportunity for us to really collaborate more, think creatively, and go back to the basics of really just supporting our students, whatever that may look like. And so as a supervisor, I think the approach to being able to do that and help my team see this as an opportunity is really just to be honest, to provide direction, and lead by example. That's kind of I feel like I have a lot of things that are really similar, the grace piece, the communication piece. That's my spiel.
I thought it was great. Oh, I thought it was great. Thank you, Brianne, sorry. Okay. That was truly wonderful. I loved the way you were talking about the structures that you created to make it sort of feel like normal, like we knew kind of what we were doing within a structure. And also make good use of the talent that you have in ways that allow people to learn new skills, or highlight things that we may not use on a regular basis just based on their job. This is one of the greatest times. You said, remember, this is an opportunity. It's an opportunity in so many different ways. Yes, it's a crisis, but it's an opportunity to learn things and do things that we never thought we could. And I thought that was so inspirational. Nice. All right, Patrick, you wanna head us on to the next part of it?
Sure. Tough acts to follow. Hi, everybody. Patrick Love. I use he, him, his pronouns, and I am the Vice President for Student Affairs at Springfield College, and I'm also the Director of the Student Affairs Administration Master's Program there. Thank you, Hank, Celia, and Brianne. Great thoughts. They resonate a lot with my experience over the last couple of months. I'm going to share some observations, mainly in the area of leadership, bleeding maybe a little bit into supervision. One of the things that, one of the first observations is that in the emergence of this crisis, that people got sorted pretty quickly at all levels of the organization into leaders, followers, and the invisibles, all levels. I have invisible vice presidents on our campus here. There are follower vice presidents, just as there are leaders among my entry-level staff people, and there are people who have become absolutely invisible as well. Hadn't really ever thought about that, and then how do you manage that? That's been one of the challenges, and certainly my boss has that challenge as the president. And So the people who have led have not necessarily led through traditional authority. They have exhibited foresight. They looked ahead, whether it's a day, a week, a semester, and said, wow, somebody should be thinking about this or talking about this. And so they convened a group of people to start doing that. This has happened at all levels of the organization, which to me really represents one of the strengths of the overall organization, is that that's possible and encouraged. So for staff out there, I'd encourage you not to wait, to step up, to pull people together. Vacuums appear when someone becomes invisible. Typically they leave a vacuum behind, and so someone can step into that. And if people are contributing to the forward motion of the institution or their unit, there may be some pushback, but generally the forward momentum will overcome whatever pushback there might be. Another observation is that there are a number of people who have stuck to the old rules and the old expectations. Whereas in this environment, the world has changed dramatically. And so, for instance, we're running slightly ahead in our deposited new students. We are running just a fraction behind in our continuing registrations of continuing students. And we're even running ahead of where we were last year in housing contracts. For some people, that's all good news. For others of us, that's almost meaningless information, because we have no idea, unless you're really looking and reading and observing. We should know that many new students are depositing and are much less committed to coming. They're waiting to see if we're online or in real life. And so we need to anticipate that there's some planning that needs to be done regarding how many people may actually show up, and how do we re-recruit our current students. And so we actually set up a group to set up. Normally they go off for the summer and we see them when they return. We realize that we need to market to our current students what is good and great about our institution, even if it ends up being online. So recognizing when you need to let go of the old rules and the old ways of sense making. Another phrase that I've heard, and maybe some other people have heard early on, that really struck me as, yeah, you're right, was, I didn't sign up for this. On the one hand, it's true. No one signed up for this. But I spent a little bit of time reflecting, and one of the messages that I sent to my division was, in a way, if we think about what did we sign up for? Why are we in here? Why are we doing what we do? We're here to address the needs of people, to transform individuals' lives, to exert some kind of educational and developmental influence on communities of students. And in a way, I made the argument that this is exactly what we signed up for. That if not us, who else would step in? And as someone before, maybe it was Laura, it was a number of people who thanked you all for the work that you're doing. Yes, I thank you as well. But in a way, I think you're on this webcast because this is exactly what you signed up for. It doesn't feel like it, but when you think and reflect on it, and that led to some really good conversations on the part of some folks. This is one of my other panelists mentioned this, but we talk about hitting the wall, both personally and professionally. Hard to know in this new environment when that will be, and that notion of giving grace. What I've attempted to do as a leader is to allow and encourage pushback. I trust my people that they are working hard and trying to make contributions. If they can't do something, if they need a break, I want them to push back when I'm asking them to do something. And more than any other time, I try to shift gears and shift it to somebody else until that person is back. And I let them know, let me know when you're back and able to take on more. A couple of other things. We were asked, one of the prompts was sort of staff morale, and we're doing things like Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we have virtual Dunkin' for a half an hour each morning. Anyone can come, no attendance is taken. People can just hang out with each other, with their work colleagues. So it's kind of like the water cooler. That's turned out to be pretty positive. I've gotten everyone's home addresses, so I'm sending birthday cards and thank you cards in the real mail. So to me, it just goes beyond sending a text or an email to try to show people that I'm thinking about them and appreciate the work that they're doing. I mentioned this before. I think one of the most important skills is that in this environment is that of foresight. And some people think of foresight as being someone has a natural inclination to look ahead. Other people don't have that inclination. I think it is a muscle that we just need to work and think about what might happen. What scenarios do we have to look at? And again, I think the president should be doing that, me as the vice president, but I want to see every one of my staff thinking about what if this, what if that, what if we're on campus, what if we're not? What implications might that have? And finally, learning on the fly. I earned the nickname in one of our early president's leadership team meetings as the alarmist, because I was one of the people who looked ahead and could see some potential for this really hitting us. This was end of February, beginning of March, and what it might mean. And so I advocated for taking early action. We had a great conversation and decided to hold off. Within 3 or 4 days, we took those actions. And what I realized, it wasn't that I was right. It was that the community was ready to move ahead when 3 or 4 days later, where they wouldn't have been if we had taken those steps that I had advocated for. I've told that story to my staff to say, I'm learning on the fly as well. I don't have all the answers. I'm going to learn new and different ways of managing in this environment. I want to encourage you to do the same thing and to say when you've learned something, which usually means something that worked in the past no longer works. So in fact, I'll end with my nickname became the alarmist, and my intention is to develop t-shirts that I'm going to sell to raise for student emergency funds. So I'll let you know when those are online and available for purchase. So thanks, Laura.
That was great, Patrick. Such inspirational and wonderful ways for us to be conceiving about how we approach this work. Your comment about how it wasn't that you were right. Well, I would say actually you were right. You were right. But timing matters. You know, an idea can come too soon. It's the right idea, but it's not the right time. And that's not a bad thing. I mean, part of what you did was introduce the topic and blew people's minds. Then they were open to seeing the rest of the evidence that you had already been paying attention to.
It's exactly what happened. They had wrapped their heads around it, decided against. 3 days later, they were ready to move ahead because of that conversation. Perfect point. Yes.
Yep, that's exactly right. And a lot of what you have been talking about is actually sort of that growth mindset. And that we talk about that for our students a lot, but we also need it, I think, as employees. And if we cultivate that in our staffs and in ourselves, that does a lot towards effective supervision and leadership and professional development and contributions to our campuses. You talked about foresight being a learned skill. I totally agree with that. You just practice that muscle a little bit. And I also really loved this is what you signed up for. Yes, it may not be what you do every day, but our students and our campuses need us for all of the same reasons that we came into the field anyway. Brilliant, brilliant. Oh my gosh. I am completely blown away and not surprised at all by the fantastic insights from our panelists. I'm torn. I want this thing to be at least another half hour so we can hear more from them and also break into our smaller groups. But I'm going to check in with Becky now and see if we're ready to move into our smaller groups so that we can talk in a more intimate way about the things that are on people's minds and hearts and learn from each other. Becky?
Yes, I believe so. I certainly hope so. So I'm going to give it a shot to open up the breakout rooms. I have done my very best to get you in to what I think will be most helpful for you. And I really hope this is a time for you all to network and to share ideas. And if anyone is left behind, I will make sure to get you into a room as soon as possible. Thank you so much, everybody. Enjoy your small talks.